I want you to ask a question about Graves' disease, or answer it actually. When people say ask a question, they generally mean answer the question for yourself. And the question is, well, first, actually, to set the stage for this, you're going to need to create a little fantasy, kind of, visualize, whatever you want to call it. I want you to pretend that the CureDrive is not a hoax. Okay? I want you to pretend that these people really cure these things. They actually are curing these things and getting negative medical tests back, you know? Like that Charles Smith, the guy who donated our CD, funny thing about that, I think God wanted us to have a CD because along comes this guy who cures terminal cancer. I mean, it was wrapped around his heart. The doctor gave him 3 months to live. He arranged hospice care for him. The last drug failed, and he cured it. And then he called up and said, "I want to donate a CD." And I said, because I had been resisting doing a CD. And in the last, in previous couple of weeks, Franny had been going like, "We need a CD," and I kept saying, "I don't want to commit the time to doing a CD, because you gotta it's a lot of work to create a good one, But so a week later, this guy who I didn't know he owned a CD company, he comes in and he'd been curing his cancer for months, It actually only took him a few weeks to cure it once he went terminal, but that's what he needed to do, I guess, Anyway, so now that you hear this and you go, okay, I want you to pretend, I want you to visualize that I'm not lying to you about Charles, and that all those people on the flu cure show, they actually called in with the flu, and cured the flu. And I want you to ask yourself, if they did all that, can I cure Graves' disease and get a negative medical test and be free of Graves' disease for the rest of my life? So I never have to think about it or worry about it again. Just ask yourself that question. Answer that question for yourself. And probably an answer popped into your head like, given, given that this fantasy were a reality, that you would probably say yes. And so now I'm going to tell you something that you may not want to hear, which is that the answer is actually no. That you may test negative on a medical test for Graves' disease. And they have some good medical tests for Graves' disease. But even if you test negative, you've still got Graves' disease. And this is not just something I think, okay? Which sometimes these things are when I say this. Like I was on the movie I made about herpes, I was telling herpes sufferers that when you get your negative medical test back on herpes, you've still got herpes for a couple of years anyway. And this is sort of like something I think, more maybe than something that's really true. Because I kept finding herpes for a couple of years. So, that for me turns into, okay, you're going to probably have it. Even though I never had another outbreak. But I kept finding it in my spiral and gravitational bodies. And I know you don't know what those are, but does it matter? Because you haven't started doing this yet probably anyway. So now you may have started doing it. And if you have started doing it, what you would be doing right now is you would actually be, testing. And you know what testing is if you did lesson 1. Intuiting. Sometimes you can just say, "Oh yeah, it's in my gravitational body. I know that." You just know it. That's a more important test, by the way, than the finger test. That's a more important test. Those intuitions, and also the feeling that you get when sometimes you get a peaceful feeling just when you know something, just in the moment of knowingness of it, you go, okay, and you feel different. And you know what that actually means? It means you removed it. Because the removal is just something, the removal, it's almost like it happens outside of time. I mean, it's just like, boom, you know. And what you feel, when you feel the calm, clear place after the removal, that's the aftermath. That's not how long the removal takes. The removal it's just instantaneous, you know. So, okay, but the reason I'm saying that you're always going to have Graves' disease is because Graves' disease is an autoimmune disease. And what's happened to you is, you know, unbeknownst probably to you and not by your choosing, is your immune system has learned to do this now. You have learned to do this to yourself. And you can't unlearn it ever. Like, how can, you know, you never forget how to ride a bike. You can't I mean, you may never ride one again, you know. You could say, okay, I ain't riding no more bikes, you know. But you will always know how to ride a bike. Well, your immune system will always know how to produce that response. So, see, in this movie, I'm going to go into how to cure Graves' disease. I'm going to tell you how to cure it. And the thing that you need to know about Graves' disease before we start is that you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. And, you know, it's quite possible that you will have, your negative medical test can come 3 weeks from now. That's often, well, you know, medical tests, the medical thing often turns around within a few weeks for people. I mean, I think Charles, from the point where he started curing his cancer in earnest, you know, I would say it was probably not even 6 weeks. It couldn't have been because they gave him 3 months to live, right? So it was not going to be a long cure. Anyway, boy, too funny. His doctor was very supportive of him doing this, by the way. Because he asked his doctor, should I do this? And his doctor said, anything you can do. He said, I have nothing left for you. Anything you can do, do it. I'm here for you. I'm telling you what to do. Whatever you can do it. No matter how crazy it seems, do it. And he did, you know. So I'm going to go into how to cure Graves' disease in this movie. And when you do, what you want to know is that you can not have any symptoms for years, and you'll be checking yourself for it, not finding it, and all of a sudden one day, bingo, there it is, you know, and you've got to do it all over again. But it won't probably take as long the second time. Maybe I could tell you a little story about that. It would be about somebody who has lupus. That's a good question. Will she have lupus forever? You know, another disease of unknown origin, which I happen to believe is viral based. But I don't know if there's any scientific evidence for that, but I happen to believe that it is. However, be it that it is or is not, it does act a lot like I would expect Graves' disease to act.